Okay, so what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen are the pairs we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you stay to the end of the video because I do have a bonus pair in store. But yeah, I would normally go through my trades for the week first during this little segment and then progress into the analysis shortly after, but I didn't take any trades this week. Fortunately, was a little bit ill, just about recovered, so I'm going to see how it goes through the weekend and hopefully be streaming again next week. But yeah, no trades this week. Took most of the week off, so I wasn't really looking at the markets actively, but hopefully next week we'll be back in full swing. So we'll start with the famous Euro USD. So Euro USD headed to the downside this week. Really nice bearish movement. This is kind of what we're looking for. Didn't really see any substantial pullbacks with Euro USD. Had some slight pullbacks early in the week, and from that, the market kind of continues south. So really nice shorts there, kind of an intraday on the lower time frames. Nothing really I would be looking for. I wanted to see a retest of this broken support level and then look for some shorts there. However, didn't quite see that. Nonetheless, we did see a really nice move to the downside, which was expected for Euro USD. Now we're creeping to some key areas of value around this area here, which was prior resistance, big push to the downside, followed by an even bigger move to the upside. So we know this level of support is going to be very, very important, around 1.075, and we also are forming these very sluggish but overall higher lows in the market. As you can see, one major one there, giving us these new highs, pullback, new higher low, new higher highs just about, and now potentially we could even see a new higher low for Euro USD. I'm not too sure if it will be anything crazy, because just overall how the market is moving is very, very corrective. So I do think we'll get a push to the upside from here. It might come back to the highs here, but I do think eventually we'll probably take a bigger dive eventually, or we might do see something like this, a slight move, retest some structure, lower high, then drop. Either which way, with the way the market is moving, unless some crazy momentum, crazy bullish momentum comes from somewhere for Euro, I think eventually we are going to tumble over for Euro USD. But nonetheless, this is still an important area, still key area of value, still within structure. So I do still expect to see a push to the upside, to the upside for Euro USD here. But I wouldn't probably push it too far, anything past this area. But to be honest, that's probably like, what, 200 pips? So yeah, 197, almost 200 pips on the dot there. So that's more than enough pips for a decent buy. And again, you don't necessarily have to have your targets all the way up there. There's obviously multiple targets if you look working lower time frames with these lower highs here. These could also be some decent targets or some good areas for some partials. Nonetheless, 1.075, if you can see some good healthy rejection around here, I do think this would be a nice turning point in the market to see some upside. Might be one last short in the tank for Euro for the move down early next week, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But for me, I do think we can see a nice bounce to the upside, potentially back up to 1.09435. So that'll be the plan going forward for Euro. Like I said, I think eventually we are going to tumble down, sort of like what gold is doing. We'll get into gold later in the video, but right now, decent area. See how we react with it. Of course, the confirmation is going to be important. We could just bleed straight through and tumble over. That is a possibility, so we need to stay ready and make sure we're waiting for good, clear entry confirmations and a good, clear sign that we're about to turn around. So that's the plan going forward for Euro USD next week. Okay, so on to USD JPY. So USD JPY, lovely move to the upside this week. Unfortunately, didn't really get to take part in this one, similar to Euro. Not seeing much pullbacks here. Probably get better drawing the 5-15 minute chart for those pullbacks. But nonetheless, really nice move to the upside, which we were looking for. Back into the resistance here, which as you can see, the market is just broken through. So going into next week, I'm still looking at more upside. Looks like from a higher time frame perspective as well, the market is really starting to commit to the upside here, breaking through, respecting these high lows, but now breaking through the resistance here. So I'm looking for a push into 142 into this area here, which also lines up lovely with this broken support there as well. So good confluence around 142. That for me is the next destination, which I'll be working towards with USD JPY long. So now I'm just looking for some really good entries to get involved. And the place I'm looking at getting involved is still the same place as last week, or coming into this week, I should say. I was looking for the retest of the structure. Didn't obviously see it, but it's still standing strong. So I'm still looking for a move back into that same area around 135, 500. So if you can see a bigger retracement to this area, I will be looking at the longs there. As you can see with the higher lows, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you know, looking for the continuation. Price is obviously breaking through the resistance here. Looks like we might be getting a retest. For me, it's just too much of a shallow breakout. I want price to commit a lot further before I do you know, start looking at the retest of this 137,800 mark. Again, it's still breaking retest. It still makes sense. So, you know, it does make sense to look to go long on this level. But from my experience, you know, these type of breakouts are a lot more prone to fake outs when they're only just clearing the level, especially such an important level like this. You want price to really break through, then come back down and retest. Those trades will give you a much higher probability of the breakout being successful, or at least the retest being successful, I should say. So yeah, I want price to commit a little bit further before I look for the retest, or just come a little bit deeper. Again, it's a bit of an ask for a move all the way down here, but again, I'm not here to try and call every move and take part of every move. I'm just looking for good opportunities, and if the market does get back down there, nice corrective retracement, that would be a good opportunity. So this is what I'll be after next week for JPY, or like I said, I'm still interested in the break and retest, of 137,800. I just need price to clear it a little bit further. So if you can push a little bit more, then I'll start eyeing up the retest of this area. And again, same targets, that 142 area. So keep an eye on USD looking good. JPY pairs in general looking pretty good. I'm expecting more upside for a lot of them. And let's see how it plays out. Okay, so up next we've got USD CAD. So USD CAD is just all over the place right now. Coming into the week, we said we were looking at some buys and sells, you know, because we kind of play both sides a little bit. I said there could be some nice buys in the retest of the consolidation. Did see a nice pop, and also a sell around this area here. Didn't quite come into that area, as you can see, just below 1.36, but we did see some nice highs around there. So the way I'm looking at USD CAD right now is the market is creating these lower highs, as you can see, and also creating higher lows. And if you've been with the channel long enough on my streams, you know that this type of structure here I tend to stay away from when the market's creating lower highs and also higher lows. There's no obvious sign of where the market can go. You know, both also displaying strong impulsive behavior to the downside, and also strong impulsive behavior to the upside as well. So this is not what I want to be seeing. This is a market which is confused in which way it wants to go. I do have a higher time frame bias, which is to the upside. You know, we are still very consistent with all of these higher lows as we look at the longer term picture. And again, all of this does, you know, play its part. So I do expect us to eventually pop back into resistance. However, I'm not willing to trade that lower time frame structure, full H structure, hourly structure, which is just unsure what it wants to do. So what I'm looking for is the market to start breaking highs or start breaking lows. So preferably breaking highs, because then it fits the higher time frame narrative. If you can start breaking through structure to the upside, start clearing resistance, then cool, we've actually got some bullish structure to play with. Impulse, pullback, impulse, looking at the correction, and then can take that trade there to the upside with some confident bullish structure. You know, this is something I'm looking for. Even the sells, but we do have this higher time frame trend line coming into our kind of area around here. So even if we do start clearing some lows to the downside, so let's say we break through support and we start getting some, you know, clear downside momentum, you know, you're kind of just selling into a very key level of support and key trend line in the higher time frame. So I'm not really too interested in the sell there, but the buy, if you can start clearing to the upside, that becomes something I would be, you know, gladly interested in, because we've got the higher time frame confluence, and now the 4H is starting to pick and choose its actual direction where we're going towards, seeing confident momentum in a particular direction, and, you know, clear structure in a particular direction as well. So I want to see USD CAD start clearing through 1.35663 for me to start looking at longs. Anything in this area here is just noise consolidation, not getting any clean opportunities in there. Feel free if you want to trade yourself. Obviously, I'm just going to give you my opinion, my guide of what I'm looking to do personally. I'm looking for clarity. I'm not trying to guess my way through things. Haven't had much success doing that, so I want clear price action, and that's what I want to be trading. So USD CAD breakthrough 1.356, and now look at my corrections there. Targets, you got a lovely resistance there on the left, and obviously some resistance here as well. So it's up to you how far you want to push your trade. But yeah, confident break of the structure, looking for the retest. You know, that could be a nice little target, and that could be a secondary target depending how far you want to push your trade. That'll be up to you. But yeah, looking at something like this next week for USD CAD. Okay, so up next we've got Euro Pound. So Euro Pound, not much from this one. We did see a slight retest of this lovely level of support here. As you can see, big support level, market broke through, nice retest, and since then the market's kind of been consolidating. So for me personally, I'm looking to see if we can pop a little bit higher, slightly back into the range and then take a dive to the downside. We had a really lovely impulse to the downside. Firstly, we got some really good bearish structure, impulse, correction, impulse. So confident, move to the downside. Since then, the market has become a little bit choppy. But I'm looking personally at this support area here. Lovely impulse. If we measure that with the fib, as you can see, we've got some good confidence above that area. And quite frankly, when we do have consolidation just outside of range, it's not a good sign. It's not a healthy sign that the market looking to continue. So I do think it's quite probable that we could see a move to the upside. Obviously, I'm not trying to buy it up there first. I'm letting the market do its thing. It could easily still break to the downside if it wants to. We are still seeing really good bearish momentum on Euro Pound here, but I do want to see if we can pop to the upside first into 0.876 and then get the follow through to the downside. I'm still looking at the consolidation on the daily chart, which is this area here, and move it there. So as you can see, this consolidation, huge move to the upside. So I'm still looking at push into this area, which is around the 0.863864 area for Euro Pound. So this is still the target, but I not really want to get engaged in the price action there. It's a little bit too choppy for my liking. We might just see a retest of the high, so we could see a retest of this high here, the top of the consolidation if you like, and then see a move to the downside. So if you're eager to trade Euro Pound, this could obviously be the move that does give us the follow through, but I'm seeing a lot more probability. Ooh, didn't want me to do that. I can see a lot more probability in the level slightly higher up, around 0.876, so that is where my interest will lie. But in terms of the direction, everything, definitely bearish on Euro Pound, not interested in buys at the moment, and only looking for downside move. There we go, finally got it. So yeah, Euro Pound, pretty bearish on. Keep an eye on both these levels here. Market is a little bit sideways right now, so I would recommend staying patient. But if you can get a nice move to the upside, you're still looking for that rollover. So depends how big the retracement wants to be. It might just be a stab to the high, then a rollover, or a bigger push, clear out some of these weaker highs there. Retest, we've got some good structure there, and see the rollover. And targets, can be back easily to the lows here, the low of the consolidation, or that daily kind of consolidation area there. As you can see, I'm saying consolidation a lot, and that's what happens with Euro Pound. There is a lot of consolidation there. Nonetheless, still seeing some good momentum, so let's see if we can get a follow through. So looking at targets around 0.863, and areas of interest lie at 0.872 and also 0.876. Okay, so next up we've got AUD/USD. So AUD/USD for me, still looking at the bigger breakout through this support level. If we're just looking at a big consolidation here, as you can see, equal highs, equal lows. Not really interested. There might be some lower time frame trades. As you can see, the market starting to give us this bearish structure. Might get another pullback, right down to the lows here. Again, for me, I'll be staying away. I'm waiting for the full-on breakout and then get the correction and then get the continuation. High time frames is still kind of where my main focus is, because that's where I'm seeing clear structure, clear trend, clear direction. So this is where I'm anticipating AUD/USD to get to 0.61851 into that in that weekly swing low. That's still the main target, but first I do want to see us start clearing out this consolidation, which is starting to look like a big head and shoulder pattern. As you can see, left head and right shoulder. So if you can start break through this area here, I do think the floodgates can open, and we'll probably start seeing some momentum similar to this back down to those lows here. So AU long term looks very good. Just in here, it's a little bit corrective. Like I said, there might be some short-term sells you can ride there, but I think just waiting for the breakout will probably be the most efficient option to do. And target wise, obviously long term down there. Short term, we can start with looking at some of these highs here. There's a nice support level around here. As you can see, good support there. Also that area there too. So these could be some nice places to target. I'll probably use some psychological levels as well, because there's no obvious target to look for. We have to go all the way back to late 2022 for some targets there. So probably use some psychological levels to balance things out. But in terms of direction, everything looking at a lot more downside for AU. So waiting for the breakout, 0.658. and then I'll start looking for my pullbacks, but there might be some lower time frame shorts in there as well, so up to you if you want to look for that. But that's still my main focus going to AU into the following week. Okay, so over to NZD CAD. So NZD CAD was looking for a pullback into this area this week and some shorts to the downside. Didn't quite see that. We just got consolidation and a big push to the upside here. So overall, this is starting to look a bit like a reversal, impulse down, consolidation, impulse up. Could see something like that happen, which does play into the bigger picture of the bull flag I'm still talking about on the daily. Huge impulse, correction, impulse. So that's kind of still what I'm waiting for, to see if price can start breaking through the highs and get that kind of impulsive break, retest, continuation, and that way we've actually clearly broken out of this descending channel, which the market is still in and still could see another move to the downside from. So I'm still not looking for that bigger play until we do start breaking through the resistance here, because then we've broken through the channel and we've broken through key resistance. So now we've actually got some bullish structure to play with. But as of right now, this is still definitely a possibility, still another swing to the downside. I'm not a big fan of the price action here, the fact that we keep stabbing up, seeing impulse behavior and the consolidation as well. So I'm not really looking for sells with NZD CAD anymore. I'll just be waiting to see if you can clear out the channel and start getting the buys above 0.85281. Possibly, again, there could be some sells. If you start clearing out some lows here, then we actually get some nice bearish structure going kind of within the descending channel. That looks a little bit better to me, but yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the shorts right now. It doesn't mean they can't work out, but I think the buys have a lot more confluence, especially the higher time frames as well, and just a cleaner trade in general. And again, targets will probably be the highs here on the left that were previous lower highs. We can target, take partials at them and whatnot. So NZD CAD, I'm still favoring the break to the upside. We still might roll over. We haven't broke out the channel at all, so the bears are still definitely at play. I cannot forget about that. The market's still in the channel, and the bears are still the favorable option, but I'll be hoping to see if we can get a break to the upside and get the retest from that, because again, like I said, I'm not a big fan of the sells and the way the market is moving right now. The buys look a lot more attractive. We just need to see the market kind of make the first move and start breaking above 0.85200, and then we can look to see if we can follow that momentum. So this is still the top setup I'm looking at going to NZD CAD for the week ahead. Okay, so over to Pound NZD. Pound NZD, nice move to the downside. I was actually expecting the market to hold this area and see some upside. However, we didn't quite see that. The market just consolidated that area and broke to the downside, and more importantly, it's clearing out these lows here. I was focusing on this lovely broken resistance, turn support, massive rejection in that prior weekly candle, as you can see. However, this week's candle was having absolutely none of that. Strong close to the downside, confirming prices back inside that area. So it does look like the market could be seeing a move to the next key area. So again, Pound NZD overall was just a big consolidation, not really treating it as a trending structure. I'm just looking at the key levels and plotting them on. So it looks like potentially could be seeing a move back down to 1.96, which again was solid resistance. Could be turned into solid support, and natural place the market could be gravitated. Is that word gravitated towards? I think so. So yeah, Pound NZD, that's what I'm looking at. Price going 1.96. We've got some nice lower highs to work with. Like I said, we just clear these lows here. So now we've got some bearish structure to work with as well. This impulse leg, retracement, impulse, retracement, another move to the downside. So now this area here, if I just delete this zone here, we know it's there. This area here for all these wicks looks very, very attractive to short from. Catch the next lower high, 1, 2, 3, and hopefully get a nice stab into that resistance as well. And then of course, back down to the lows or into the weekly zone. That'll be up to you. But this is the setup I'm looking at for Pound NZD. Looking very, very good as well. Didn't see the impulse behave to the upside I was looking for. But again, we need to pivot, react, adapt. Not everything you predict will work out. As you can see, the market is breaking to the downside, clearing out some key lows. Confident closure on the weekly back underneath the low as well. So that's a complete turnaround from the bias I had last week, but now we're getting some really good setups to the downside as well, just as good as last week as well. So really good opportunity here, back into that 2.000 kind of area, big psychological level, good confluence there, looking for the next and third leg to the downside into 1.96. so keep an eye out for Pound NZD. Okay, so on to CAD Yen. So CAD Yen is looking very, very good for next week. I'm liking the price action. Definitely a lot of the yen pairs are starting to look very, very attractive. the way I look to trade, they're looking very, very good. And CAD yen is probably the pick of the bunch. I'm not gonna lie, probably the pick of the bunch out of the yen pairs. But I'm looking at more upside for this guy. Similar analysis to USD JPY. Looking for a push back into this area. This was a big double top, as you can see, equal highs, collapse to the downside. Could be seeing a retest of that area. Of course, long term, the market is still pretty bullish. This could easily be another swing low in this crazy uptrend. As you can see, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. Potentially could be another one. So I'm looking to see if we can get a bump back up to 104, 105. Now we're getting some confident candle closures above this area as well. So yeah, buyers look very in control of the market, and scaling down to the full H, move this bigger trend line out of the way. You can see, since the low here on March the 23rd, consistent higher lows, painting a clear picture that the buyers are control. Obviously consistent higher highs. This was a very important layer because not only did it break through the high there, it also broke through this high, because at that point it was starting to form potentially a lower high, but the market quickly put that to bed and obviously saw a break of both those areas. So going into next week for USD, not USD, for CAD yen, I'm looking at some retracement now, a higher low, retest the structure here, not too far away, could see it early Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and looking for the continuation into 104, 500, 105 up there. Again, not necessarily have to hold it the way. There might be some targets you want to, look at around here, around there. That'll be up to you. But I think long term, looking at the higher time frames, 104, 105 is looking pretty likely. So this is the plan going ahead for CAD yen. Really nice structure, good long impulsive moves. This is price action which looks sustainable as well. Sometimes I'm talking about structure and I say it's quite corrective, looks like it might turn around. Sort of like what happened with Euro USD and gold. But this is really confident price action. So it's going to take a lot of bearish momentum, a lot of impulse bearish momentum for us to turn around. Which again, never say never. Anything can happen in the market. It's important to have an open mind. But in terms of probability, which is all we can act on as traders, all we can act on is probability. In terms of probability, there's a good chance the market will continue higher. So now, just looking at some good pullbacks, good entries, and let's see if we can join the party. So that's the plan going ahead for CAD yen next week. Okay, so over to pound USD. So pound USD, I'm not really a big fan of it. It's very corrective still. I'm kind of just flirting with this really big level of support and resistance here on the daily as well. It doesn't look like it wants to break below, then it's struggling to stay above it. So again, yeah, pound USD, ever since we came into this 1.24, 1.25, price action hasn't been looking too smooth. So I'm kind of waiting for a bit more development. From a structural point of view, just looking at the price action, it does look like we're going through a reversal here. This is a very sluggish uptrend. Kind of came into a big climatic halt there at around 1.26, and since then we have been placing some lower lows and lower highs here. So I'm looking for this to continue, and as long as we can break back underneath this 1.2425 area, retest of that could become really nice sell opportunities. Lower high, potentially another one. Could see another lower high lining up quite nicely with that level there. So this is a decent opportunity I'm looking at for pound USD. I'm not interested in buying the pair anymore. Again, like I said, a lot of sluggish price action. Market's starting to create some bearish structure. It's not looking like a good market to buy, even though we're kind of still trading above this key level of support. So I actually want to see us break below it and give us a nice confident break below, maybe nice daily candle closure below as well. Then we can start looking for those pullbacks and trade those lower highs, 1, 2, 3, try and anticipate the fourth one. In terms of target, there's a lot of targets you can look at. There's lows all across here, depending how far you want to push it. Again, rule of thumb, the further you're going to have a target, the less likely price is going to get there. Obviously, the better risk reward, but in terms of just probability, there's less chance of the market getting there. So trying not to be too greedy. This could be a nice little end target for the move. This is kind of like 50% of the range, if I am not mistaken. So yeah, this is kind of like 50% of the range. So obviously you've got the high, the low. Tend to see the market come to that 50%, and that's normally where we see a lot of speculation of chaos in a range around the 50% mark. So that could be a nice little target to play with. 1.22, very good risk reward as well. Or there's multiple areas here on the left you can target as well. So it's up to you, but I'll probably be going 1 to 3, 1 to 4, nothing too crazy if I do get into any pound USD shorts. But if I do, this is probably the setup I will be going for. So keep an eye on that for pound USD next week. Okay, so over to pound CAD. So pound CAD this week, we broke to the downside of the consolidation. I was looking for buys this week for pound CAD to see if we can break above the consolidation. You know, nice textbook break and retest and get the buys to the upside. Didn't quite see that, but I also gave out an alternative that the market came back down to this area. There could be some nice buys around here. Did see the market consolidate a little bit, and then on Friday, nice push to the upside. However, we didn't clear back into the consolidation and back above it. The whole point of the market breaking to the downside was, you know, trapping people in the wrong direction to see that impulsive behavior break us back to the upside there. So now the market is breaking down and starting to reject this area. That's not a good sign and could actually be meaning the market is likely to go lower. On the daily chart as well, again, the market was consolidating just above this area. As you can see, we broke underneath and now respecting that as resistance. So pound CAD could actually be looking to come a lot further to the downside. Key support here around 1.66. Again, the buys were looking good, and until we start breaking above the consolidation again, that's when I'll start contemplating the longs, because 1.69 is where the market was trying to go bullish, failed to hold the support level, broke to the downside. I was looking for us to go and tap into some stronger areas and then push to the upside, but clearly we're not doing that. Of course, it's a little bit early. The market could still, you know, gap up and start pushing to the upside. And again, if it does do that and we start breaking back above 1.69200 above the consolidation, then yeah, the buys above that will look fantastic. But you know, with this rejection here, it's not looking likely. So if we can resume holding this into next week, 1.685, I'm expecting continuation back down to 1.66. Because it does look like we are starting to print this bearish structure now and starting to head further to the downside. So pound CAD for me, swapping that bias from bullish to bearish and looking for more downside. Again, back to the prior low. That could be a nice place for partials. And then 1.66 is looking like a decent place for a TP. I will look for buys again if we do clear the resistance, but only if we do clear that. So pound CAD for me, looking at more downside, getting some nice lower highs in, anticipating another one forming around there. So 1.66 is where I expect price to head to for next week. Okay, so on to pound yen. So pound yen, lovely continuation to the upside this week. Was looking for one more stab into the zone here, didn't quite see it. Market just opened up bullish and kept flying. But again, we had some really nice confident price action here with the higher lows. Lovely impulse to the upside. Lovely correction as well with that the bull flag correction. So we got the impulse one. Oh, what happened there? Impulse one, correction two, just stab through the lows there and then get the continuation. So everything is still looking pretty bullish here for pound yen. I'm not looking at sells whatsoever until we start creating some bearish structure. So the market starts so the market starts creating some good bearish structure, some lower lows and lower highs. Or we start breaking through this low here, which is our most recent low, which gave us that drive to the upside around 168. So if we break through that, nice impulse behavior, then yes, I'll be looking for sells. You know, we are at a very substantial high on the weekly, daily chart here at 172. Again, if I go to the weekly time frame, we have me trading at these prices, obviously since then, since early 2016, so a good like 7 years ago. So we're kind of at some uncharted territory, so there is a possibility we could look to reverse back down and see some downside, but I need that bearish structure first. If not, then I'm expecting more upside. So the buys and the break and retest look attractive, waiting for a nice impulsive break, retest, and then a continuation. In terms of targets, again, we haven't been at these prices for quite a while, so you know, there's no kind of real target to aim for, so kind of keep it simple. You know, use your risk to reward ratios and psychological levels. 173, 174. I think no further than 175. 175 is quite a big psychological level. So you know, 173, 174, 175. Even the half numbers, 173.5, 174.5. They could be some good partials as well. But yeah, there's no clear target to use here. So we're kind of just using psychological levels and kind of making it up as we go along with our risk reward. But nonetheless, the market is still very bullish. So if you do see a confident break and retest, it's still looking pretty good. And if you are looking for sales, again, I need that bearish structure come into play first before I can look to take those sales, which will take a lot of development. But if they do happen, you know, I'll be all for it. But right now, the market is showing bullish momentum. Monthly chart, weekly chart, daily chart, 4H chart. So I'm not one to go against it. So yeah, this is what I'm looking at going forward for pound yen. So keep an eye on that break and retest of 172 for next week. And now on to gold. So gold broke to the downside this week, and again we were kind of expecting eventually a big tumble to the downside, and now we've finally broken through some major structures. So me, for gold, I'm now looking at sells for this one. So gold, as you can see, multiple signs of failure at the highs here, finally broke to the downside, taking out these key lows. So now we're looking at pullbacks and continuations, and we've got a really attractive level here. As you can see, broken support, 1, 2, 3, impulse break to the downside, no retest yet. Let's see if we can get popped to the upside into that 2000 mark. And from there, I'm looking at continuations to the downside. As you can see, prominent lower highs, 1, 2, 3. Let's try and get that fourth there. And we got some really good confluence there as well. So gold sells are looking very attractive. This bullish structure has finally met its match, and we could be seeing a deep retracement as well. So overall, gold is still pretty bullish. Obviously, we did come into a big weekly time frame resistance, so kind of makes sense we are seeing some downside. But you can see the bullish structure still at play. I do think we probably can come into some areas deeper down, maybe around the 1900 mark or slightly below 1850, and tap in some areas here and possibly see that next high low form and get gold pushing bullish again. But right now, things do not look bullish at all. So I'm looking at sells and sells only. Again, we've kind of got the criteria what I'm looking for. Confident lower highs, confident structure, bearish momentum, and the break of structure as well. So this for me, at least on the 4H time frame, is deemed as bearish structure. So now I'm looking at some sells to the downside, back into the prior lows here. So if you do pull back into that area, naturally speaking, that probably will be my TP, depending on the risk to reward if it's good. If not, probably stretch it a little bit further into that origin of the trend line here, around 1940 as well. So it's up to you for the risk to reward, but in terms of the direction, only looking at sells this week for gold, and some really nice price action as well. So let's see how it plays out. Okay, so now on to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, not much, basically just consolidation as we can see. I've been talking about a couple of areas of interest. 25k looking good for some buys, and also this area here around the 28k I believe. Nice support here, as you can see, resistance there as well. So we might stab into this area, get that next third lower high, then the drive into 25k. So the shorts do look good in the meantime before the longs, and they still look good, even better actually, because we now create some consolidation, got some equal highs up here. We could look to go and break through them, tap into the stronger level, and then see the move kind of like a big bear flag continuation. So impulse, correction 1, correction 2, get the follow through to the downside, sort of like a pound yen with that bull flag but flipped. So this is kind of what I'm looking at. 28k sells. Again, the market's starting to create some low highs here. High 1, low, lower high 2, low, lower high 3, looking at the drop. And then some longs look good, but of course if we are creating these prominent lower highs, you do want to be careful and not be too overconfident with the longs, because again, we are coming from a very substantial level of resistance on the higher time frames. This 30k mark is definitely not a level to mess around. So this actually could be a start of a bigger trend that actually heads a lot longer to the downside. But nonetheless, 25k is still looking like a gorgeous level to buy from. If you can get some good entry signals, I'll be more than happy to buy it. But I'm not going to be silly and look for a pushback to the highs. Could happen, but if the market is creating these prominent lower highs, these are good targets to at least take partials at. If you want to target the highs, but these are good areas to move your trade stop loss or take some partials. So beware. But at the moment, looking at some sells around 28k and buys around 25k. Anything in between, anything in here, not interested to touch. Sure, maybe in the lower time frames, but with Bitcoin, I'm only working on the daily and the 4H, slightly higher time frame. I'm not really too interested in the minor fluctuations. So yeah, keep an eye out for this for Bitcoin next week. And last but not least, we've got our bonus pair, which is NZD JPY. So NZD JPY is looking very attractive. Like I said, the JPY pairs are looking very good. In particular, CAD Yen, NZD JPY, AUD JPY, USD JPY looks good. Pound Yen, Euro Yen, CTF JPY have gone a little bit far, but those 4 yen pairs look very good for some longs next week. NZD JPY, I'm looking at this setup here. So, forgot the trend line with me there. So obviously got the higher lows there, 1, 2. Lovely structure here, was resistance turn support. Looking for us to have that next pullback, next higher low into that area. From a high time frame perspective, I was actually expecting NZD JPY to reverse, but it never cracked through this support level. Multiple attempts, but it held. And Now looking for a push back to the highs here, which is kind of like a large ranging structure. And as you can see, the market is now piercing the highs, creating new highs here, and also creating new higher lows as well. So I'm expecting this momentum to pick up back to highs. And if you switch to higher time frames as well, you can see we still do have a quite confident bullish structure in our head on our hands right now, but I'll say on our heads. So I'm expecting naturally just to push back to the highs as long as that momentum sustains. And from a 4H perspective, we're getting some confident bullish momentum here. So we're looking at some pullbacks into 85,500, and now I'll look for my long opportunities, entries, and push, whether back to highs if the risk reward is good. If not, I'll push it to 87 or 88, we'll call it, back to the highs there. But yeah, in terms of the structure, this is what I'm looking at playing, and everything is looking pretty nice for NZD. So hopefully we can get some good pullbacks into that area and then get the continuation back to highs. So yeah, guys, that brings us to an end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please let me know in the comments. Any particular ideas or bonus pairs you want to see in the future, feel free to drop in the comments as well. But thank you so much for watching the video. Drop a like if you have enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new as well. If you haven't done already, just hit the subscribe button. Really do appreciate it. Hit the bell as well so you don't miss out on any uploads in the future. But thank you so much for watching the video. Have a fantastic weekend. I'll catch you all next time.